Welcome back, my friends. Here we are back on YouTube. It's been a minute, right? Well, lots of reasons. COVID was part of it. But a new season of Survivor has started again. And, it's time to chat. There are lots of reactions I've had to this first episode. And there are lots of things I'd like to update you on and kind of include you in this wonderful journey we call life. So how many of you watched the opening of Survivor and just wanted to puke when you heard Probst talk about how he wants to be of the moment? Oh, the game of Survivor means a lot to me. I just really enjoy it. It's a powerful game, and there are some really deep, important reasons, I think, that Survivor has connected with such an audience and lasted this long. One of them is not its political correctness. That's not one of the reasons that Survivor connects with people. Nor is it what we viewers think of the people behind the scenes. But when those people behind the scenes, step in and take time out of the show for their own superficial, egotistical agendas, it frustrates the living hell out of me. Was the show good? Wow, don't get me started. Finally, I feel like whatever happened, whomever Probst began to listen to finally, it seems like me almost. Was he watching my YouTubes? Because damn if he didn't take all the notes. It seems like the show has a heart again. It's back in a way that I think people will react really positively to. And why? Because we're engaged with the characters now. The participants are part of the heart of the show, and we get to know who they are, and we get to listen to them and see a little of their background and kind of contemplate what they're feeling in the moment. Those are all the things that cause us to be introspective and why we're connected to the show. And they were lost for some pretty long period of time in most of these prior seasons. But already in this first episode, it seems to me as if the focus on the participants is more genuine. It's more real. It's afforded more space so that we can comfortably begin to absorb who these players are and thereby connect with them. Right? That's our crack. Who are these people? Who would I bond with? Who's making choices I might make? Who isn't? Those kinds of things. Well, in order for us to feel that, I feel like we really have to have a good sense of who each of the participants are. But don't let me give you the wrong impression. I still barely remember anybody's name until they all merge. Who are they? I don't know. They're pawns. Boop, 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 gone. Bye. That's how the show works. And I don't know whether it's age. No, it's not age, because for 20 years it's been the same for me. I have a very difficult time absorbing who these names, who each participant is, when they aren't going to be of any real consequence. And I don't mean that mean-spiritedly. They're all wonderful people, I'm sure. But as game players and in the mode of playing Survivor, they can't mean all that much to you. You don't have space to think about every person equally. You need to let go of those that are expendable. And the expendable ones are all the ones that are going to go pretty quickly and who aren't going to be your real competitors. So it's fun for me to watch and to think about who that might be. If you're a watcher of my YouTubes, I'm not going to predict winners and things. That's not what I do. It's not really sensible. It's just kind of haphazard, really. But I'm always intrigued by gameplay. And I feel like since this wonderful first episode has introduced us better to who's playing, we have a better sense now. We have more access to who will play better, who will maybe not. JD. Oh, what? Did that come out? Gosh. There are a few, like JD, who still, after all these years and his fandom, is so young and overenthusiastic that he's detached, really, from how he's perceived by other players. And it's, to me, someone who studies who we are and as an observer of people just regularly, day in and day out, he's just not playing. He just doesn't have the capacity to stop his normal kind of hyper interaction and enthusiasm about life and who he is, which is great, but not so great within the context of the game of Survivor. So I don't expect much from JD. Here I just said I wasn't going to predict, but I'll give you that right off the bat. And there are other folks there who are, playing already. Don't you love that? I love watching people think and prepare to impact people, other players, in particular ways. That's the game. That's the skill. That's the nugget that you good Survivor, you loyal Survivor fans should be looking for with respect to who's going to go further in the game. Who is it that's willing to play? Now, I don't know about this mafia pastor completely, but she's certainly saying some of the right things. There's a little bit more kind of exposure, maybe similar to JD, that enthusiasm with respect to kind of being in front of other players that maybe could be calmed down a little bit. But I think her intent is good. She is willing to play whomever she's around. I think she may overpromise. She's a little bit more vocal this early than she might be rewarded for. We'll have to see. But she's got the idea, kind of, that everyone is part of the plan. Everyone's expendable. Let's find out who they are. Let's see what they need. Let's, I would say, give them the sense that you're willing to contribute what they need without blatantly saying it out loud, particularly with enthusiasm, if that's what you're doing. Because I think that, after all these seasons, is something that might cause skepticism among other good players who see you doing that. So there are lots of cautions. It's a fascinating place to be. Hey, break for a minute in my head. What's the deal with all you folk? I hope to hell you're vaccinated. I know you didn't come here to get preached to, but I'm also starting a podcast about reality. You hear me talk about it all the time. And the idea that reality matters, what's true matters, is so important to me that I'm stopping here in the middle of this Survivor diatribe to just kind of point out that if you've bought into the misinformation that's out there, I feel badly for you. Flush it and get vaccinated, damn it. There's nothing wrong with the vaccinations. Worse than that, they are life-saving. And so just try to look toward folks who are experts, who understand the science. Look at history, look at the vaccinations you already take. Recognize that these are something that may save you or your families or your community's lives, and get vaccinated if you haven't. Just frickin' do it. You're being played by moronic dolts with their own personal agendas, starting from Trump all the way down, but they started before Trump. And I don't want to get off on that, because there are folks out there who are who have different political beliefs maybe than I do, but that's not my point. My point is to use your brain, that reality matters. What's true matters. And what's true? Vaccinations work. Okay, now I'm sure all the comments about preaching will come in. That's fine, I don't care. You make all the comments you want. I enjoy hearing from you. So I hope you've enjoyed the show too, this first episode. And I hope you notice how different it is from the pre-COVID seasons that were not just becoming problematic, they were to the point of off-putting. And I feel as if that's been removed. Again, I'll say there's been a little bit of egotism. People have written in, many of your comments have to do with, not many, but several of your comments have to do with this idea that, yeah, you get it, I don't like Jeff, etc. It's true. Jeff is not a good human being, but he's a decent host, and I'm only pointing out where he's screwing up from my perspective. And my perspective is that he's interjecting himself in our show. This is Survivor fans' show, and taking away from the game. All this stuff about come on in, guys, is nonsensical. It's all his personal agenda, all part of his superficiality with respect to the physical way he appears that I think is overdone, to the way in which he interjects these kinds of things into the show is part of what undermined the show in these past recent seasons. He needs to listen to someone outside his circle who understands the game and get rid of that stuff. Yeah. Talk to the players. Maybe at Tribal Council, bring something up that is related or applicable to the game that people are playing. But this stuff about what he's said for 20 seasons and come on in, guys, and how it might be time, and he says something to the effect of, I want to be in the moment too, so should we not use guys? It's not about in the moment, you moron. It's about what's appropriate and what has always been appropriate. And just because you were too airheaded, bigoted, maybe too detached from how insensitive something might have always been, isn't reason for us to, get behind you now and say, oh, Jeff's such a good boy, doing the right thing. Isn't he politically correct? It's nauseating. That should be saved for the pundits, those of us behind the scenes after the show airs, talking about the show and the aspects of it and its production that we like. And I think that's what many of you come to these videos for. We can talk about that. Did you like Come On In, guys? Are you liking Come On In and getting rid of the guys? Was it something that always rubbed you the wrong way? Are you feeling personally that you were bothered by having been called guys if you didn't react to that or think of yourself as one of the guys? So those are all appropriate reactions, and I'm not dismissing that the introduction may have been a poor choice all along. I'm just saying there's the place for it isn't to make Jeff look good now, to pretend that Jeff is something, doing the right thing and caring about people. He gave himself away with the stupid ass comment, I want to be in the moment too. It's not about that. If those pieces, and there were 3 or 4 throughout this first episode where Jeff, came back in and talked more about that same damn thing, if they were removed, we'd have even more opportunity to listen to and see who these contestants are and how they're interacting, and get those little subtle, often nonverbal cues as to what's happening among them. That's what drives us viewers to think about the game, to contemplate what we might have done differently. Exciting. I like that it's back. There are plenty of differences between this new first episode, season 41, and other seasons, particularly the later seasons, more recent ones. In the past few years, Jeff's influence on the game has been horrific, as I've detailed in other YouTube videos. It really has missed the point, missed the boat in such a real way that is evidence of how detached most people, even those producing the show, are from what the game really is. It's can't see the forest for the trees. It's something to do with proximity. Maybe they're too close to understand what's really going on or what drives us. Yet there's so little, if any, data, influence, whatever, from participants who understand the game, allowed to be kind of entered into the mix of what we might do to help the game grow or evolve, that I wondered if season 41, or what I think of season 41, or what I imagine it will be based on having seen the first episode, I imagined that might not ever happen. I didn't think they were going to get there, but I'm really happy, and I hope people respect the idea that I'm not just here to bitch at morons. I will. Regardless of what comments you make, I'll still point out what I think is moronic behavior and who are idiots that are involved and interfering with producing a really great show, because I react to the show the way you do. I've never missed an episode because I love the game, not because of these people behind it who are screwing it up. But let's give them credit where credit's due. So 41 seems to me to be significantly improved. There are things we don't know yet about some of the changes and how they'll impact this episode. So, what do you think going from 39 days to 26 or 27? It's a pretty significant cut. And my reaction when I heard Jeff talking about no time, the condensing of the time frame makes it more intense, changes it in a way where there's no time for rest. Well, I've got to take issue with that just a little bit. There never was. It doesn't matter. People have asked me over the years, oh, don't you think they're being coddled now compared to what you had to endure? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. That isn't a worthwhile exploration. Who had it worse? The people who play Survivor, like I played Survivor originally and then All Stars, I played the game then. I didn't play season 14, 19, 39. So I'm not thinking about how they compare to one another. The season 41 player isn't sitting there wondering, oh gosh, do I have it easier than season 1? It doesn't matter. It's hard. The game is a very, very difficult game. And when you're there as a participant, that's your life. That's your experience. You are in it and it's hard for you. So my take on that whole concept is that this is going to be challenging. Even when it was 39 days, perhaps because it was 39 days, there were periods when the camera crew was there filming us, but there wasn't much direction. So there was space between the challenge, let's say, and then the next day, maybe tribal council, those kinds of things. Those spaces, those gaps, much happened. Much. Why? Because people become exhausted. You're interacting with all these people that not only can you, if you're playing well, not care too much about, you can't let yourself, you want to get rid of them. So all of that space in between, you're really probably most stressed about being a particular way or causing others to be impacted by you in particular ways. It's overwhelming when your brain is 100% focused on all these other people and how they're impacting one another and how you're impacting them. And if that time and space is removed because of the reduction in overall game time from 39 to 26, what's going to happen? That we're going to have to see. Will we still have the same kind of level of play, the same kind of dynamics that take place in those spaces where people notice things about other players, where people can plan to impact them in particular ways? It's a very interesting thing for me to think about that change in dynamic. I don't mind the change. I understand that any production company after 21 years is going to think about, hey, can we reduce the cost of this show by reducing the length of the show and see what happens? Do the contestants still get a similar experience? Do the viewers still react the same way? And are they drawn into the season the way they always have been? We'll see. My sense is, since they have reverted to caring a little more about we viewers being able to understand the players, that we're going to like this season at least as well as the most recent years. Perhaps much, much better, because what they've been doing, what they are doing now in this season, has been lost for so long. So it's very refreshing to have it back. I hope you feel that. I hope you're sensing that you have, in this first episode already, a little more of an understanding and therefore a connection to any number of these players. Doesn't have to be all of them. You can be thinking, oh, wow, I haven't seen much of this one or that one. But if you're getting the sense that you understand one or two or three or several better than you might have in previous seasons' first episodes, I think you're onto something. I think it's intentional. I think they did it well. And I hope it continues. And I think from that, you'll get much more out of this journey. So just briefly with respect to the changes this season too, I wonder if people have noticed some of the subtle things, like the behind the scenes things that happen in these seasons of Survivor. This one looks more crisp. The art department, the challenges, they're just beautifully considered and done and thought through, and they pop off the screen in a way that's really, really powerful. And I think that's engaging on one hand. I think the idea that the participants aren't given food this season. You know, we didn't have food is what we say, but we did start with a can of rice or whatever. People think, well, how does a whole tribe survive on, some rice? Well, you dole it out and you only have little bits, but it is something. And I'm in the camp, and this is up for debate. I'm in the camp of I think that's a pretty good thing that there aren't stores of food doled out right from the outset. That sets people off on an adventure that's different from the prior seasons, in that they really do probably have to think about how they're going to keep up their energy, when they're going to prioritize finding food, who's going to be rewarded for bringing food to the group. All those dynamics do come into play in a way that I hope viewers will be able to see. It's an interesting choice, I think, at this point. And I think it probably couldn't have been done with a 39-day time frame, because it's television and you need the participants to have a certain amount of energy for it to be watchable. But I think with only 26 days, believe me, that's a long time to go without food. But going from 39 to 26 days, there will be the possibility that there'll be enough energy, that the prize will drive people to go past their limits. And even as they're, fat is dropping off their bodies and they're stressed and they're losing their minds, they'll keep up the gameplay sufficiently to entertain us. And I think that's likely. So we'll be looking for that. Oh, it's exciting. These changes, some of them subtle, It's exciting, and I know many of you, rabid fans, those of you who've been there from the beginning, really pay close attention to many of these subtle details. And I hope you think about and recognize how some of these subtle changes really could impact the game in grand ways. Those are fun to look for, and right along with watching who it is that you think's playing well and feeling connected to them. We're on an adventure. It's fun, isn't it? As I said when I started this little clip, welcome. Welcome back. I apologize for the delay. I wish I could produce more of these. I do enjoy interacting with you on this level. I feel honored that we have this opportunity for you to hear directly from me and to respond to what it is you're seeing or listening to. So I'll do what I can, but I can't promise that I'm going to review each episode or continue through the entire season. There is quite a bit happening in my life at the moment. Some of it I'll be able to share, some of it I may not for a little while. But it's all good. And thanks for participating along with me. I really feel honored that you come and you listen and you contribute by letting me know how you feel. Positively or negatively, it's all good to me. It's all data, it's all input. And I enjoy understanding whether you've kind of interpreted what I've said the way I intended or not. And even if you agree or disagree, even if you have interpreted it as I intended it. It's life, it's life. We're all different, and it's really fun. Listen, enjoy the season. I think it's going to be a good one. It seems with this first episode, we're in for a really fun ride. Here we go.